Okay, we're on the road finally, so see what kind of trouble we can get in today on this video. Actually, today I'm just gonna try to go to some places here in town that have memories for me as far as with this car, different places, and just try to see how they look today compared to how they looked 38 years ago when I bought this car. So it's just going to be a little trip down memory lane, more or less. Not going to lie to you and tell you that there probably won't be pictures made at some point, but I'm not going to wash it or anything today. It's still clean. My wife's, she makes sure to keep the garage door clean. Make sure she keeps it closed if she's outside with the lawnmower or anything, because she doesn't want the dust getting in the garage. So here we go. I live in a little town called Batesville. It's in north central Arkansas. It's actually the oldest city in Arkansas. About 100 miles north of Little Rock. We're just in the bottom of the Ozarks. You can go about 20 miles to the northwest and you're in the Ozark Mountains. So I've lived here all my life since I was 4-year-old. And except for a 2-year excursion and living in Little Rock, I've always lived here. It's always been home. But it's a good town. Population's about 12,000 people. It's just a nice little comfortable place to live. No GTAs to speak of. I haven't seen any in several years. We used to have a guy that had an 87 model with the paddle mirrors that lived out at Southside. Last time I saw it, it had like a big slice in the rear quarter panel, like somebody had sideswiped it. That's been several years ago, but it was a bright red, flame red metallic, 87 with those paddle mirrors on it. Would have been a nice car fixed up, but you know how a lot of them end up. They just get used daily and trashed, and this one probably was just thrown away. So I guess that's how it goes sometimes. All right, let's see what trouble now this intersection right here, I'll detail coming back. This is where the radiator exploded on the third day that I owned this car. We'll talk about that on the way back. But it was just time to get it out and drive a little bit. I haven't had it out in a while, and on a nice day like this, you got to take advantage of it when you can, because we don't drive in the rain. Everybody knows that. So you got to take advantage of the nice days when you can. Yeah, so we just passed. There's the video store where I met my wife for the first time. Well, not for the first time. She was actually with the friend that came and gave me a ride home whenever the radiator exploded on that third day I owned the car. But I was so mad I don't remember her being there. I kind of hate to admit that, but I don't. I was so upset because it had popped both the radiator tanks off of it. So all right, this is St. Louis Street, our Highway 167 North, the main thoroughfare, if you will, through town. We've got a few of the modern amenities. We've got they're just building a Slim Chickens. It's about to open. We got that. We got one of the new modernized Sonics, but we don't have any of the Chili's or, that kind of restaurant we don't have. We have Ollie's. Ollie's is good for modeling. If you like to build plastic models, they usually have a pretty good selection there. I've got a few myself from there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a tour of downtown. This is the old historic part of Batesville. Hopefully we won't bore too many people. But, oh, we got the arrow. How about that? That never happens. Y'all are bringing me good luck today. We're turning here. This is one of the places in town you don't want to buy your used car, from what I've heard. But get my grip better here. There we go. All right. Historic Batesville, Arkansas. 1821 was the year that this city was established. It's the oldest, as I said, the oldest town in Arkansas. So this is the historic district. Lots of beautiful old homes. You know, they had to be maintained to a certain standard. Can only be certain colors. You know, that kind of deal. They're all historic homes, so they had to meet those standards. That house right there reminds me a lot of Elvis Presley's Graceland in Memphis. It's built the same kind of way, but it's brick instead of like Graceland with the white siding, clapboard siding. But they just did this, I guess, a couple of years ago. It used to be 2 lanes, and the city went over and added this big, huge sidewalk on one side to encourage people to get out that live down here. You know, get out and walk back and forth to the downtown area and everything. So it looks real nice, but it was really hard to get used to it because it was 2 lanes for all my life. Here you can see some people out walking right there with their babies. But these old homes, they're pretty. I don't think I'd want to live in one because I bet the upkeep is something terrible. This is a couple of our biggest churches here. The Baptist church on the right and Methodist church on the left, the Methodist on the right over there. The Baptist church is building a big, huge new church out of Eagle Mountain. That's one of the subdivisions here in town. But as you come into the town, they've gone through and built these curbs and flowers and all that kind of jazz, you know, to try to jazz up there's a lady walking right there. Jazz up the downtown area. But, you can see this big mural they painted on that wall right there, historic Batesville, Arkansas. But yeah, this all used to be 2 lane, and they've gone in and did the curbs offsetting for some reason. I don't know why. It's kind of it's not difficult, but it's more challenging to drive. You know, it'd be better if all the cars parked on one side of the street and you had the floor on the other, but they didn't ask me before they did it, so I never got a letter to be consulted, so it is what it is. But they're trying to rejuvenate the downtown. There's lots of restaurants now down here and you know, that kind of stuff, and got a vintage movie theater down here. Y'all might remember I've got a picture of my car parked in front of it. But just a quaint little town trying to survive, trying to drum up business, you know, for downtown merchants when everything's trying to go out around town. So hope they're able to do it. There's the old courthouse there on the left, and we've got new, you know, Airbnbs and hotels and stuff built in some of these tops of these buildings. They've gone in and made luxury rooms, you know, using them for Airbnbs and Verbo and that kind of stuff. And this right up here across the stoplight is the Melba Theater. That's our old vintage movie theater that still plays. I can remember going to it when I was a kid, and they're still showing movies today. So they did a big restoration of it and everything. It's nice to have somebody take the interest to do that. But this is just the lower part of Main Street. It's pretty busy this time of day. We'll go ahead and make a turn here. car detail shop, Polish Pros, right there on the right. Okay, now coming up here, golly, this has already run 10 minutes. I apologize, y'all. On the right down here at this stoplight, you'll see there's a little building that in 1988 was a radiator shop that the Chevrolet Pontiac dealer used. Right there, that little brick building is where they sent my radiator out to be repaired. And I have to give them credit. The car was only down one day, and I had it back the next day. So, but that's where it was repaired. I don't remember the name, but. And this right here down on Lower Main, that's Gillahan's Body Shop. My friend Chris Gillahan, that takes care of all my body and painting and stuff that we hopefully don't have to do very often, but he always does a great job for me. But coming right up here on the left, this is the old Stanley Wood Chevrolet Pontiac building. Right here, this lower part right here was the parts department right there, and then you've got your garage right up there. There's where your service department was right there. And then the showroom is this black building right here. It was built, they've converted into a church. And so now it's just man, that throttle's jumpy. Now it's painted black like a church, but that was the original Stanley Wood Chevrolet Pontiac, where in the age of my car, that's where it was at. Now it's moved out across the river, out to Southside. And all the car dealers moved out there. The Ford dealership is out there. Of course, it's owned by Mark Martin, the famous NASCAR race driver. He's from Batesville. And moved it out there, and then the Wood, it's all one now, Wood Chevrolet Buick, I think is what it's called now. It was moved out there, and then the Dodge, the man's son, Scott Wood, owned the Dodge dealership, and it moved out there too, so it's all out south of town now. This used to be the AMC dealer right here, if you can believe that. We actually had an AMC dealer. It was called Rowlett's AMC back in the day. And this stop sign, this doesn't have a stoplight anymore, and I have more trouble trying to watch for cars. I keep waiting for the stoplight to change, and there's no stoplight. So let's see. I think we can go right here. If I can not throw my head off. There. Ooh, hello. There we go. All right. Now go back through town here the other way. This is on Harrison Street. This is the other big street that runs east and west, whereas Highway 167 runs north and south. This is the Chamber of Commerce right there on the left. Batesville Schools is right down here. This is the preschool now. It was an elementary school when I was a boy, but it's the preschool now. Right there it's all walled in. You can't hardly see it. Now this right here was the old Sonic back in the day. We cruised that dude, man, cruised it hard. It was there all the way up to 1994. Red car's been through there a few times, I'll tell you that. But most of these buildings through here are buildings that were here as long as I've been living here. Well, we'll take a ride up here at the stoplight. We'll go out to I'll drive out to the new Chevrolet place so y'all can see it. Because we're talking about car stuff, right? We gotta cover the car dealerships if we're doing that. So that's a big thing here in Batesville. So let me get around this curve here without throwing the rear end out or throwing my head off. Oh, there we go. All right, this is going south. We have some fast food stuff. We don't have a lot of the exclusive things like Chili's and places like that, but we have the more common fare stuff, Freddy's and Arby's and that kind of stuff. There's Slim Chickens. It's getting ready to open here pretty soon. And this is the other thing that Batesville's famous for. This is one of the poultry plants. I believe this is OMP. But poultry's been a big business in Batesville for as long as I've been alive.